Welcome to ACTI CMS Operations webinar. Just so you know, all these webinars are recorded. They will be uploaded to the website under the video clips section about within a week after the webinar is presented. If you go to www.acti.com here at the top, you'll see these quick link shortcuts here. Just click on video clips right here, and it'll take you into our video clips section of our website. Just go ahead and search for the word webinar, and you will see the list of all the webinars that we've been doing along with the ones that we've been doing today. What we're going to talk about today is some of the more basic CMS operations. We just finished a webinar about how to set up that CMS. Today's webinar is going to be pretty similar to what the MVR's 3 basic operations webinar looks like, maybe a couple new things, but it is more of a refresher of how the MVR3 works. So you can log into the CMS using the Internet Explorer. You can also use it, log into it using the software, and of course you can log into it on your mobile phone as well, both iOS and Android. So the mobile phone is only able to do live and playback, so I'm going to show you the computer interfaces. We're going to go ahead and log into our demo CMS website. It's cms2.acti.com. Port is 443. You can also access it through the Internet Explorer. Just type in http://cms2.acti.com:443, and you'll be able to see the login page there. So actually, as long as you have an ACTI Member Center account, you can log into any of our demo websites. So your account will be your email address that you registered with ACTI, along with whatever password that you set up. So it'll essentially be whatever you use in order to log in to the ACTI website. If you have not registered yet, go ahead and go to acti.com and click on Register here in the top right-hand corner. Okay, so let us go ahead and log in, and so we can talk about the operations of the CMS. Oh, and just so you know, if you do have any questions along the way during the webinar, feel free to type it into the chat box. I will try to answer them throughout the webinar. Otherwise, I'll go ahead and answer them at the end of the webinar. If you do have any questions that didn't get answered or you need some clarification, feel free to email us at technical.support@acti.com. I've gone ahead and put that email in the chat box. Okay, so if you've been using the MVR3, you'll see that the interface of the CMS2 is actually very similar. Okay, so on the right-hand side, we've got the live view, we've got the playback, and we've got the setup. Okay, so this is our live view page where you can see all of your cameras in real time. So if you want to click and drag a camera out onto the screen, all you have to do is go ahead and click and drag that camera out. You can also double-click on the camera from the list, all right, and it will go ahead and populate the camera in that view for you. If you want to go ahead and zoom in, as long as the camera so all cameras actually can digitally zoom in, meaning the pixels are just being blown up. So if you go ahead and just draw a box over the camera image, it will go ahead and blow that image up for you. Okay, and once you're done, you can right-click on the red box in the picture within a picture, and we'll go right back to your original view. If you want this to be the main camera that you see real quick, all you have to do is double-click, and you can double-click again, and it will go right back to the main view. Okay, so if you look at the bottom of every camera, you'll see there's a menu bar that pops up. This is what we call our instant playback. So what you can do is if you do need to see the playback of your cameras, you can, of course, go into your playback bar at any time. But the problem with that is you're going to lose, just for the sake of looking at the playback of, let's say, 1 or more cameras, you're going to lose the live view of all of your other cameras, right? So if you want to keep seeing the live view of your other cameras, what you can do is you can actually use this instant playback function. So on the live view page, it will actually go ahead and give you a playback interface. Actually, we might not be recording that camera. Here we go. Okay, so if you actually are recording the camera, you'll see a small playback interface show up, and you can go ahead and hit play, hit pause, go back. You can even use the calendar to jump to a particular date and time if you'd like. You can speed it up, you can slow it down, and of course if you get lost at any point, you can click on the Go to Current Time button, and it will jump to the current recording that you are looking at. If you do see a particular event that you need to take a look at, you can of course make a bookmark, all right? And so let's say, yeah, let's go ahead and make a bookmark. Let's just say we did see an event here. We see that this is when a car was last seen, okay, and this was, the description was stolen vehicle, let's say, for example, okay? So we'll hit apply, and I'll show you guys later how you can find that how you can find this bookmark afterwards. You can take a snapshot as well. If you do take a snapshot, you'll see here in the bottom left corner, it'll tell you the location of where that snapshot went to. You can always change the default location within the setup of the MVR, the CMS. And once you're done, you can go back to the live view mode. So again, if you want to enter this instant playback, all you have to do is on the live view, click on the play button. You can also right click and click on that playback mode, and it'll jump right to it. And since I'm done looking at it, all I have to do is double click and it'll go right back to my original view. Okay, so because this is the CMS, the purpose of the CMS is to be able to manage all of your MVRs from one single interface. So if I want, I could actually look at the instant playback of camera from camera 1 from MVR number 1, and then I could look at the instant playback from camera number 1 of MVR number 2. So basically it allows you to see all of your various sites all from one place. Okay, so it really allows you to manage various sites all at the same time. All right, so let's go ahead and create a new view. Okay, so again, the great thing about the CMS is it manages multiple cameras across multiple sites, multiple MVRs. So if I wanted to create a view of all the parking lots across all my MVRs, I could. All right, so let's go ahead and create a new view so I can show you guys how to do that. So you want to come up here to the layout buttons here at the top. If you ever forget what they mean, just hover over it and it will tell you. So let's go ahead and create a new view. You can create a brand new group of folders if you want. You can make it public or private. If it's private, only users in your particular CMS user group can see that particular view. Okay, so maybe you only want the managers to see this, maybe you only want the head office to see this, etc. So you can name it, you can make it the default view, meaning that'll be the first thing that people see when they log in. So we'll go ahead and call ours tutorial, make it public, and put it under a brand new group. So because I do want to show you guys how to do it, let's go ahead and start from scratch. All right, so let's say we have a brand new view and we want to go ahead and change the layouts, right? So we have layouts here at the top for you to choose from, okay? But in case you want to customize your own, that's totally fine as well. So what you want to do is go ahead and click on the Edit View button here. And you'll see these small squares show up in the bottom right-hand corner. So if you click and drag, you can actually go ahead and edit your view accordingly. So sometimes you have hallway cameras that you can go ahead and put it in that digital image rotation view, so you might want it long-wise. Maybe you have a PDF that is a list of instructions of what to do in case something does happen, so you can go ahead and put it long-wise that way as well. So once everything's said and done, you can go ahead and click on that Save View, and it will customize that view for you. Okay. All right, so let's talk about how to set up those EMAPs. So as you can see on our default view, we have what is called an EMAP here. Okay, so on this EMAP, we can put cameras, we can put shortcuts to other views, and so it's really an easy way to be able to jump in between different views, different sites, different cameras. All right, so in case you were looking at, let's say, site number 3, okay, here, and somebody tells you that camera number 1 at site 1 is having some problems, you can go ahead and double click and it will actually go ahead and show you a live view image of what is happening at that camera. And let's say that is something you need to take a look at right away. You can click and drag the camera onto the screen, double click, and right now you're seeing the camera in real time, full screen on your view. Okay. And let's say you do realize that is something that needs to be addressed. You want to jump over to that view right away. If you have a shortcut to that view, you can just click on the shortcut, and it will jump to the view that you had set up for that shortcut. Okay, so as you can see, this is an overview of all the various views that we have. And so once I'm done here, I can go right back to the original US view. So how do you set up this EMAP, right? So let's go back to our view. So if you click on the edit view, you'll see all these buttons here, right? So what you want to do is you want to go ahead and tell it that you want to create a map. You can use an image that's already been used, or you can upload your own. So let's go ahead and upload, let's say, this one. And what you can do is from this section, you can go ahead and start clicking and dragging various cameras out onto the screen. So let's say I want to see cameras from MVR from Site 3, and I want to be able to jump over to the Asia shortcut right away. So I can just go ahead and click Save View. Now I can double click on any of these cameras and it will give me a live view shot of what is going on. I can click over to the Asia shortcut view as well. So this way, especially because there are so many cameras going on your CMS, there are a lot of views going on in your CMS as well. As long as you set up an EMAP with the proper names, the proper links, it really helps you jump between your sites quickly. All right, so as you can see on the live view screen, you can actually also embed websites. So maybe you have websites again, emergency protocol, for example. So in order to set that up, all you have to do, again, click on the edit view button. You'll see all your buttons here, and all you have to do is tell it to create a web controller. So for example, if I want it to go back to the ACTI website, you want to type in http:// in the front, type in your URL, hit save, and you'll see your web controller pop up right here. Okay, so for example, since this is the website, it does work. You can go ahead and browse the website accordingly. So it just really varies what you and your customer want to display. Let's go ahead and talk about the mobile client. So the mobile client is another way that you can log into your CMS. It is available for your iOS and for your Android. So all you have to do is once you download the ACTI mobile client app, you go ahead and add your CMS as a site. And what you can do from that mobile client is not only see your live view, not only see your playback of various cameras, you can also use your mobile client to send a particular camera to a TV wall. So let's say you're off-site and you see that on one of your cameras there is something particularly important that needs to be addressed right away. So you want to be able to send it straight to a giant TV wall over by the CMS, so that the operator can deal with it accordingly. So essentially what happens is once you do log into your mobile client, you'll see all of your cameras pop up here. And if you click on one of your cameras, you'll be able to see that you have various viewing options. You can see it live as the only camera. You can see that camera's playback only. And you can also have the option to send that camera directly to the TV wall. And that way, you'll be able to address various issues in a timely manner. Okay. Another function that you will have to do from the MVR and not through the CMS is actually the video push function. So video push, if you do push it to the MVR, it will actually show up on your mobile video push channel in your CMS. But you have to log into your MVR on your mobile phone in order to use that video push. You cannot be logged into your CMS. Okay, so that is a limitation between the CMS and the MVR. Okay, let's go ahead and go into the playback. All right, so whatever cameras you had on the live view page, you're going to be able to see them here on the playback as well. Okay, so as you can see, you can click and drag. Again, you can review various playback of various cameras from various MVRs all together in the same place. Okay, and so it's not restricted based on where the cameras are actually physically. Okay, so you can click and drag, search for events. You can change the time range that you're seeing in the playback. There is all the way down to 10 minutes, all the way up to 1 day. Okay, so we'll go ahead and put ours at 1 hour. So you can fast forward it, you can slow it down. So this F speed is talking about reviewing the playback frame by frame. So especially if you are looking for a particular license plate, particular facial snapshot, you want to make sure that you have the best angle, right? So if you do leave it on the F speed, if you take a look at the numbers here, as long as I click this play button, you'll see that it's jumping every few frames, okay? And that way you'll be able to find the best angle that you are looking for. Okay? All right, and same as the live view, if you want to just see one camera only, you can go ahead and double click on it, and it'll bring it up to that full single channel layout. So let's say you went ahead and you scrolled through your playback and you realize you found a particular time that you wanted to go ahead and take a look at, and you want to export this video out, right, for further analysis. So what you want to do is you can either right-click on the video and tell it to export video, and you will get this dialog box here. You can also click on the button up here to export the video and get the same dialog box. Okay, so these options are best if you know exactly what date and time you do want to export, because then you can go ahead and type it in the time duration at the top. But a lot of times you're not really sure when a particular event happened, right? So let's say you are browsing through your footage, and you realize that a particular event happened right around this time, okay? So what you can do is you can right-click on the playback bar, tell it to mark export start, and go ahead and let it play through. So as you can see, as I'm letting it play, it's actually highlighting my playback in orange, all right? So I can click and drag it to let it highlight. I can let the NVR do it itself. But let's say this is when I realized my particular event ended. Okay, then I can just right-click on the playback bar, tell it to mark export end, right-click one more time, and export the video. So now the entire section that I have highlighted is going to be in my time duration. And that way you don't have to be scribbling down somewhere the hours and minutes and seconds as to when exactly to export. We do allow various video formats when you do export. You can export as an AVI, as a RAW file, or as a player. So AVI is very straightforward. Any Windows PC is going to be able to play back the AVI file just because it does have that Windows Media Player built in. With the AVI, you can tell it to filter out no video, which means basically if your camera was recording on motion, there's a lot of those black gaps, right? And you don't want to have to sit through those. So what it'll do is it'll compress all the video together but keep the right timestamps, and that way you're not sitting through the black. You can also add a watermark, you can have various overlays, you can do text, you can even change the style of your overlays, where it is, the font size and color, etc. And last but not least, you go ahead and tell it where exactly you want it to save. So somewhere where the CMS actually has permission to access. Okay, so the downside to doing AVI, though, it is very straightforward to play back on a Windows PC, but it does take some time to export out. Just because with an AVI file, it is not only trying to export your video, it's also trying to convert it at the same time from the original .RAW. So depending on the network, I've seen .RAW files export out 10 times faster. So if it was a 1-minute clip, the AVI export might take that full 1 minute to export it out, whereas the RAW file would probably be out within 10 seconds. So if you need to just be in and out of a particular site, I recommend that you go ahead and export it out as a RAW file. Again, you can filter out that no video in case you were recording on motion. It'll compress all of that video together so you don't sit through the black gaps while still keeping all the right timestamps. So it really depends on your local authorities, but most of the time the local authorities do prefer RAW files because they don't want any edits or changes to the actual file. So after you choose your file format, you go ahead and browse for where you want that export to go. But then how do you play back an actual raw file, right? So then you have to come into the ACTI website, go into the Download Center, and what you want to do is you want to search for a tool called the Archive Player. So it's very straightforward to use, but in case you do need instructions, the user manual is there. But this is the download that you want to grab from the website. So anytime you do have a raw file, make sure that you do come in here and grab the Archive Player so that you can actually watch that raw file. And then afterwards, let's say you do want to convert it back into an AVI afterwards, you can use the media converter on our website. Again, very simple to use, very straightforward. If you need it, the user manual is there, but here's the media converter download. All right. So there's AVI, which takes a little bit longer to export, but it's easy to play back. Raw file exports very quickly, but you do need to download that separate archive player and maybe convert it later with the media converter. So we also offer a third option called the player, which is kind of a compromise between the two. So with the player, it'll export out about the speed of a raw file, but it exports out as its own player already. So you don't need to separately go and grab the archive player. The limitation with the player format is that you can only export 4 cameras at one time. So previously you could export as many as you want, right? As many as you want in the same time duration, right? But with the player, you can only export 4 of the cameras, and you'll see everything gray out. But of course, you can still choose those 4 through the CMS across the various MVRs. Okay. All right, so once you do export it out as a player format, you're going to get an icon that looks like this. So when you open it up, like I said, it has an embedded player in it, and you can go ahead, you'll see a mini playback interface. You can go ahead and let it play through, click and drag, fast forward, slow down. So what's nice about it is it'll just go ahead and play through the entire footage for you, and if you double click on any of the screens, it'll go ahead and bring it up to full size while still playing through all of that footage. And so this way, if you need to follow an event through multiple different cameras, maybe you saw something on the visual tracking and you need to be able to follow it through different frames, you can go ahead and do so through this player. Okay, so you can go ahead and search for your information, let's say by clicking and dragging, but another way that you can look for it is by using the more advanced searches that we offer in the CMS and MVR. So the first one is called the event search, right? So the event search, we can go ahead and look for a particular event. Let's say we're looking for it on a particular device, let's say camera 1. I think everything else is unchecked. All right, and we're looking for motion at a particular time. So if I go ahead and hit the search button, it's going to go ahead and look through the footage for me, and it's going to put up in thumbnail form all the times where it did detect motion on that particular camera. And so you'll be able to get, it'll populate with all of your various pictures and things like that, and that way you can really determine what is a false trigger, what isn't. I think on this camera, we don't actually have it recording too much motion, but basically you can double click on it and it'll jump right to that particular date and time for you to take a look at. What you can also use is our smart search. So a lot of times what happens is maybe you have your motion box over a larger section of region. Maybe I have a motion box over the whole front of this area, but I just want to know, let's say, when this door opens. Okay, so what I can do is have the MVR analyze a very specific region apart from whether or not I had that motion box set up. So if I can go to the Smart Search here, click Start. Let's say I know that it probably happened between 10:30 and 11:30 today. I wanted to check the footage, let's say, every 30 seconds. Okay, for particular motion detection in a region. Okay. All right, so then what you can do is you can draw a square or you can draw your own shape. And let's say I just wanted to analyze this section here. So anytime it detected motion at this door. All right, and so because it is actually analyzing the footage, I'm not going to execute it for you, but essentially I can hit the search. Well, actually, we can go ahead and try it. So we can go ahead and hit the search, and it will give the same results, or the same result format as the event search that I showed you previously. So it'll go ahead and bring up all of your results in thumbnail form. And you'll be able to filter through what is a false trigger, what is actually real, etc. All right, and so it is going to take some time to execute, but if you just want it to run in the background, you can tell it to hide your search result reviewer. All right, last but not least, let's go ahead and talk about our bookmark search. So if we go back to our list of searches, remember we made a bookmark on the live view, and let's say we want to be able to search for that later, right? So I believe our keyword, let's go ahead and search by keyword. I think we had stolen vehicle, we had vehicle last seen, something like that. So, and it was on device number 1 of the first MVR. So I can go ahead and hit search, and it'll go ahead and bring up in thumbnail form all of the results which it found. And so you'll see here, this is what the result that we made. We can double click. It'll automatically jump to that particular date and time on the playback for us. Okay, and if we scroll down here, you'll be able to see all the rest of your results should you need those. Okay, let's go ahead and talk about users real quick. So in the setup, remember this is the users that are allowed to log into your CMS. If you want to change the users that are logged into your MVR, you want to do that under source, under the individual MVR, and under the user tab here. But let's just talk about the CMS, okay? So the CMS users, if you come into the user groups here, we do support Active Directory. So if there is already lots of groups already set up through that, you can actually just import that domain user group here. And we also do support an event tab for the CMS itself. And so, again, you can set up the events for the individual MVRs through the CMS, since the CMS is able to manage multiple MVRs across multiple sites. So that's where all of this would be set up. Okay, you can also set up the events for cameras under individual sources as well. So this is what is usually available if you log into the event tab of the MVR. So you can set all that up here. Okay, so certain responses to motion, to video loss, etc. At the source, there are various ones as well, such as if the CMS suddenly doesn't see the source, if a hard drive disk on an MVR is gone, etc. So let's say you want to set up a response to that. If you just double click on the response section, you'll see the various responses that are available. You can actually send an email to yourself if you'd like. And if you do that, make sure you come into System and set up under Settings the SMTP server. Okay, so these are the various events that we do that is supported through the CMS and that you can set up for your systems. So there's also you can also access the events under the individual MVRs as well. And if you go into the cameras themselves, you'll see the event tab, the events available for the cameras themselves as well here. Thanks everyone for joining the ACTI CMS Operations webinar. If you do have further questions, feel free to email us at technical.support@acti.com. You can also follow up with your sales representative for any questions you may have. Thanks and have a great day.